Hey guys, welcome to this episode of That Kingdom Life. I'm your host, Latoya Lackey. And before we get started, I just wanted to ask you if you would please like and share this episode. That's how we grow, that's how we get the word out for Jesus. You know, our ministry is all about hope, identity, and freedom. And we are all about helping people to come out of religion and into that kingdom life. So if that's a message that resonates with you, help us to spread the word by hitting the like button, the subscribe, hit share, and send this episode to a friend. You can also find out more about our ministry at latoyalackeyministries.com. There are some free downloads for you there, some workbooks, a couple of courses. We have a whole teaching library with over 50 teachings in it. You can join our free Facebook group. We have so many resources. We are all about helping you to understand who you are in Christ and live out your kingdom purpose. Does that sound good? So make sure you do all those things. That would really help us out. And it helps the algorithm as well. So while you're watching this on whatever platform you're watching or listening to, make sure you leave a comment, do all the things. Now, today, our episode of That Kingdom Life, we are going to have a good friend of mine. We have been in church together and in classes together and things for, I think, the last 15 years or so. And he works with the he volunteers with the ministry called Bikers for Christ. Now, this organization, if you have not heard of them, they go around to different motorcycle clubs and things. They do church visits if you want them to come to your church to learn more about their ministry. But I love this ministry because it doesn't fit the Christian mold. It doesn't fit the typical evangelical mold that we have of doing outreach or anything like that. It's a very different type of ministry, as you're going to hear today. So again, go ahead and forward this to somebody that you know that loves motorcycles and loves Jesus. They're going to love this episode. And I hope it encourages you. And stay tuned all the way to the end. And we will see you here in just a minute. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of That Kingdom Life. I'm your host, Latoya Lackey, and I am very pleased to introduce you to a good friend of mine. We have known each other we were just discussing maybe 15, 20 years. We're not sure, but a while, and have always watched his ministry, actually see him every single week. And it's been amazing to see just the growth in him and as a person, as an evangelist, as what he does in ministry. And so please welcome my friend, John Goat, as I will call him, because that's what I always call him, is Goat, Walpole, to the show today. So welcome, Goat. So glad to have you.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. So we know you are with the ministry called Bikers for Christ, and you have been with motorcycle ministry for a while. Tell us a little bit about Bikers for Christ. What do you guys do? What's your mission? What's it like?
Bikers for Christ was founded in 1990 by Pastor Z. I'm not even going to say his last name. It's Fred. I can't pronounce it, but we all call him Pastor Z. He was actually in secular clubs back in the 70s. He got saved, I think, in 77 by Pastor Chuck from the movie Jesus. Is it Jesus? What's that latest movie? People, what is it called?
Revolution.
Jesus Revolution. Yeah, I was butchered. So he actually got saved and baptized in that cove where everybody else gets. So, and God led him to the ministry, and I think he rode with a couple other Christian ministries throughout the years, and God put it on his heart to start Bikers for Christ. And Bikers for Christ, basically, they're out there taking the word to the secular motorcycle clubs and the bikers out there, and definitely to the homeless. You know, our mission is take the word to the bikers and pretty much all of society's outcasts.
Yeah. Come on. I love that. So do y'all go, so you don't wait on them to come to find you guys in a church somewhere. You go out to them. So do y'all go to like all different kinds of rallies, everything? Like where all do you go?
Yeah. We'll go to rallies, clubhouses. You know, there's clubs all over the place. And you go to those places and you gain friendships and get to know these guys. I mean, it takes a while for the ministry part to kick in, but I'll take that back. I've always thought that, but they watch you and they watch your walk and they watch, you got this patch on your back, that represents Jesus, and they watch you to see if you truly believe in what's on your back. And that's a big deal in that world. But yeah, we go out to the clubhouses, and when they have their get-togethers and rallies and things like that. So, and then we're just there. And a lot of times people will come to you. I was in Southern Thunder Rally, walking around. I had a dude come up to me and ask for prayer. It's going through a bad deal. So, you get things like that from time to time. But
so people know who you guys are when you show up, but you don't go in there just waving your Bibles everywhere.
No, you won't be welcome with that. I didn't like that when I was out there in the world. So I don't do that to nobody. But yeah. No, that's not good.
Well, speaking of that, like, how did you come into this type of ministry? Like, what drew you to Christ, and then what drew you to this type of ministry?
Well, like most of us, I had parents that got me in church when I was young. So I grew up in church. And then, like a lot of us, I hit my wild streak and I wasn't going. I was in the world doing my thing, and you could pretty much imagine how that went. And it all started really when my son was about 5. I had a buddy tell me, hey man, you need to start taking your boy to church. If you don't take him, who's going to take him? So I kind of eased into church a little bit then, of course, eased back out. And then I really, when I started searching for that relationship with the Lord, that's when I felt God drawing me to do something. I mean, it's one thing to be saved, but it's another. It's time to put in work and get out there and minister. And I'd been praying about what to do, what I could do, because I mean, I didn't see myself being no Sunday school teacher or nothing like that. You know what I mean? I really didn't know where I was going to fit in with that. I started riding motorcycles again in 2011. I went to a swap meet, which is basically like a big yard sale for motorcycle parts. And I saw this 6'4", gray-headed, long gray hair, long gray beard biker walking around, and there were many others, but he had a Christian patch on his back. I was like, what? I didn't know there was a thing like that, and I watched him for about 35, 40 minutes. Like I said earlier, you don't think you're ministering, but they're watching you. And he was ministering me that whole time. And I watched him go to talk to the different clubs. I watched him over there with the little guy giving out the Gideon Bibles. I mean, and then that's when the Lord drawed me in. And his name is Eddie Grizzly Dunn. I'm going to say his name. And he is, to this day, one of my very best friends. He's my mentor. He still keeps me in line.
I love it.
That was my initial introduction to the motorcycle ministry right there.
So it just drew you, number one, because you're like, what's a guy like that doing in a place like this, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at him and I'm like, man. And I was always a guy that if you've been down through there, I can relate to you. If you're a guy that never experienced a lot of things, it was hard for me I would listen to anybody and take advice, but it was hard for me to relate. And I didn't even have to talk to him. I knew he'd been down through there. And we just hit it off. And after I started riding with him, it was about a month or two before I told him. I was like, you was working on me that day and didn't even know it, But he's, like I said, he's still my guy to this day.
That's amazing. So, and that's what I think is so unique about this type of evangelism ministry is it's not a It's not a one and done. It's not a show up and you never see these people again. Like you said, you really, especially when you're going into their clubs, when you're going into their rallies, that's their environment and you have to become a part of it. So how does that look? I mean, as a Christian, you're going into a deep, dark motorcycle bar. I mean, I haven't been to a motorcycle bar, but I've driven past a few and I know I can see what goes on, what it looks like in there. But like, how does that equate like in your faith, like with the stereotypical a Christian shouldn't go these places? Like, what would you say to those people? How do you go in and infiltrate their area there?
Well, first of all, you just got to be a stand-up guy. You gotta show respect when you go in there, because that's a big deal in that world. I mean, for me, I mean, you have to be consistent. You can't go to this certain clubhouse once every 4 months. You're never going to make a relationship. It's just like in life. I mean, who do you call when you need to talk to somebody you're close with, somebody you got a friendship with, somebody that you trust, not somebody you see twice a year.
Right.
And it's with these guys. I mean, I can tell you, I've been going to certain clubhouses 5 to 6 years before I can, with certain members, really get a decent conversation. And then now it's like every time you go in there, you talk. But you're more or less, to me, I feel like you're more or less there when they need you. I've had guys pull me to the side and tell me, "Hey, man, I got something going on, whatever it is. Could you pray?" And I always put them on the spot. I said, "Can we pray now?" Sometimes they say, "Hey, when you talk to the big man tonight, put me in that prayer." Sometimes it's like, yeah. And then we'll go around to somewhere private and pray. And I've seen some things. I've seen some good stuff in there. But they treat you with respect. The fact that you stand for what you believe in, that's a big deal in that world. They see that and they gain respect right there. So
I love that. No, and that makes sense. That makes sense because you do. I mean, it's the same as with any group that not the same, but similar of, when we started working with the youth and we were youth pastors, at the church we were at. And I mean, we had kids that were like, yeah, like, I'm not trusting. I mean, it took months and months and months for them to see that we actually cared about them before they trusted us. So I can only imagine what it's like with grown men who have all their hangups and different things about church and religion and God knows what else. And they're really having to build that relationship of trust, like you said. So it's showing up all the time, being consistent, all of that. So how do church people look at you? I mean, the Christian world will tell you we got to stay in our bubble. We're to be separate. You guys watch TKL. Y'all know I'm not about that. So how do church people take what you do?
Okay. Our church, my church, when I first come in, it was embraced. They loved it. Okay. I've been to other churches where they're looking at us coming in. And it's like, what in the world's going? And they don't truly understand what we do, because let's be honest, something we have in common with the other clubs. We love motorcycles, we love the lifestyle, but the way we live that lifestyle is different. You know what I mean? But we have that in common. You're not going to be able to take a suit and tie guy in there and talk to nobody. You know what I mean? It just ain't gonna happen. But I'm rabbit trailing. Get me back on that question. What was that last question?
You're fine. No, like, how do other Christians look at you? If they're like, do they have a struggle with like, man, we're not supposed to be in bars? Like, what do you do? Like, is there a struggle there for some people when they know what you do?
Yep. And they, like I said, they don't understand it, and they don't think you need to be that close to the sin, I guess. But I just tell them, what did Jesus do? Did he shy away? No. What are we supposed to do? We're called to go out into the world. That's the whole world. That's not just sections of it. That's not where you feel comfortable. Now, granted, we all can minister to different people. Like there's people you can reach, I can't. You know what I mean? There's people I can reach, you might not can. And that's what makes us, we're all the body of Christ, right? If we were all the feet, who'd be the hand? You know what I mean? So it takes us all to do that, you know, and that just happens to be my passion and where I like to be. And you know, I'm thankful to God that I found it, you know, because it is my accountability too, you know. I love it, you know. Back to the main question. There's some of them that didn't believe it. We had a guy I knew, his pastor was really down, like didn't like it at all. So there was a pastor retreat that a motorcycle ministry was putting on, and he got him to go. And when he went out there and spent about 4 days up there, and he saw what it was all about, he had a whole different thought about it. But yeah, so it's tough on some of them. We went to some churches and they looked at us like they want us to leave, but once the worship started, then they were like, okay.
Yeah, then they're okay. Then they're like, yeah. Because you guys do church visits, right? You go around and you let churches know what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, you know, there are people in churches that ride motorcycles, you know what I mean? And they might not have heard of us, but, and we like to go, we like to do it like with our members. Maybe this guy, he'll set up a church visit and we'll go. And sometimes it's just us being there. Sometimes we'll get a guy to get up and talk about the ministry and stuff like that. But it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just to let everybody know we're out there and we're in the community. And if this is something God could be leading you to, hey, come on and hang out with us. And, you know, just to let people know we're out there too, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, okay. We don't hold anything back here. And I know you and I don't hold anything back. We're all pretty honest around here. What would you say are some of the things that have challenged your faith as you've been doing this ministry, or things that maybe God has challenged you on that you didn't see coming?
Oh, I can say a couple things right off top. Number one is I'm very prideful.
Okay.
Like when someone says something that back in the day would have been answered with well, let's go outside. You can't just do that.
Yeah.
You got to represent Jesus Christ. You have to be I mean, you just can't act like you used to. And sometimes that stings. But like I said, that maybe has happened once or twice in the whole time I've done this. But I tell you what we are good at. When the environment gets too much, we're gone. Peace. You know what I mean? And they know that, and they expect us to do it. If we hung around during the things,
then when it got crazy, then you lose respect, right?
Then we would have them talking to us like, "Hey, this ain't what y'all are about. What's going on?"
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. For the most part, I'm good. I mean, I've seen all this stuff before in my lifetime anyway, and I don't want no part of it. So I know when to be there and when not to be there.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I can't. Like I said, I'd say more of the pride thing is the tough part for me. But
yeah. Well, and I would say too, like, I think too, like you, like everybody else, most of us, we mellow a little bit as we get older. You know what I mean? And so, you know, but I guess let me ask you this: like, what do you feel like? What do you feel like the Lord has taught you about true love by doing this ministry?
I'll say this. A lot of times in society, people get thrown away like they're garbage. And it is taught me to not look at people and judge them and love on them. Just kind of like the stuff y'all have taught me over the years. You know what I mean? We're all God's children, and he don't love me no better than he does him. You know what I mean? Why should I look at him a certain way? So we're there to help. We're there for them. And I don't judge anybody for anything in that world. I mean, if I would have, I say this all the time. I thank God I didn't find this till I was saved and had the relationship with the Lord. If I was young and wild and found that lifestyle, I might have been in some deep trouble. And I think God knew what he was doing when he introduced me to this, but no, I think it's more or less seeing people as God's children and not just like, some old guy or some old guy, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's been big for me.
Yeah. And teaching you to love. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the hard part. It's like sometimes we, especially because I've been in some of those environments where we go into, the Bonnaroos, or, we go downtown Nashville and we're talking to people and stuff. And it's so easy to put people into categories or to dismiss. Like, we really have to be super, I feel like super aware, listening to the Father's voice to be like, okay, what does this person in front of me need right now? Do they need an ear to listen to? Do they need someone to, give them encouragement? Like, what do they need in this moment? Because a lot of people just don't see them and they'll just bypass, and dismiss. So, can you think of a time or a story where you've really just seen the love of God on display, just either within your community or within the biker community? Because I know you've talked about that several times, about what a giving community they are to each other, and how has that played into you guys being able to minister there?
I got a story that there was I wasn't there that night, but we a group I rode with, we had a guy, his son had been diagnosed with leukemia, and he had these treatments and all the bills and things that come with all that, and the deductible and all this stuff. And it was hard for him to make these payments, and it was financially, it was a big struggle. And there was a meeting, and there was different people there from different clubs, and our group wasn't represented that day. Another member from another group brought this up, and they passed a hat that night. I think he got somewhere around $600-700, and then they did it the next night at a cookout and did another $300-400 for this. And I think every time the kid walked in the door, it was like $200 they had to pay or something. And he had like a couple treatments a week. I can't remember exactly, I'll butcher it, but just the fact that they didn't even know this guy. Mm-hmm. They didn't know this kid, and they've raised that much. They just started pulling money out and handing it over. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, a lot of incidences like that, and you just get to see that, and you just know these dudes, they take care of each other, and they're good dudes, man. Mm-hmm. That's something that I want to say, that, I don't care where you go, you're going to have some wildlands in whatever organization, whether it's this or that, but mm-hmm. you got some good, honest dudes in there. Yeah. They do care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amen. Amen. And I love that. And, and I know, like you've told me too, like there's been times where, someone passed away, and like your whole club will show up and do the ride with them, when they're mourning the loss of someone, or, they're making a memory run for somebody. And that's a perfect time to be able to come in and show the love of Christ, is when people are going through hard times and stuff. Can you tell me a story about that?
Yeah. I mean, well, I can tell you this. Just last week, of course, I didn't get to go as at work, but we did that. We went out and supported a club that lost a member unexpectedly. Mm-hmm. And it goes a long way. They show the love. And I guess, I don't know, about 2-3 weeks ago, went on a run, and it was a run in honor of a member that had been passed a while. Mm. And got to do a prayer and just let those guys know we love them, we're here, and stuff like it goes on. And like I said, they're not too sentimental. Every once in a while, you can get somebody to break down. For the most part, they're going to appreciate it when they tell you thank you. It means a lot. That goes a long way in that world.
Yeah,
Love coming out is a little different than you see on the altar at church. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to hear more stories from my friend Goat with Bikers for Christ. So stay tuned. Hi, TKL family. Thank you so much for watching That Kingdom Life. You know, part of our mission here at Latoya Lackey Ministries is to help people understand hope, identity, and freedom. So we not only want to equip you with good, sound biblical teaching, but we also bring in people to have conversations, interviews, topics, all of the things. Now, this is a listener-supported podcast. What that means is that we don't have sponsors. We're not getting paid from other avenues. So I want to ask you sincerely, will you consider partnering with us? Not only are you going to help us to bring good content and quality to this show, but also your money goes to help support other things like the furtherance of the gospel. We have 4 trips planned overseas this year, and we are going into places where they can't afford to pay us to come. We're having to pay our own way. It's a missions trip, right? And we are going to equip leaders in churches. There's church planting happening. We're also going to do a couple of kids camps this year. And this is all in conjunction with a ministry friend of mine as well. And so we are, spreading the gospel, and we're doing the things that Jesus has told us to do, to train up, to empower, to equip, to release disciples, making disciples. So will you please consider becoming a partner with Latoya Lackey Ministries? You can do that by going to latoyalackeyministries.com/give and become a monthly partner or sow a one-time gift. If you want to give towards missions, you can put a note in there for that as well. But every dollar helps, and I would so appreciate it. And I know that we are furthering the gospel together. Hey guys, welcome back to TKL. Your host Latoya Lackey, and my friend Goat is here with Bikers for Christ. So Goat, before we went to the break, we started to talk about a few different things, and I wanted to pick back up with what are some areas or some ways that the Lord has had to stretch you in this ministry? Like, what are some things He's taught you through doing this?
Well, He's brought me out of my comfort zone in every way you could think. I'd never been the guy that would get on stage and talk to nobody with a microphone in my hand, never. Well, when you get in the motorcycle ministry, that stuff's going to happen. I wasn't the guy running out praying for people, asking people for prayer. Well, that all changed when God took me to the motorcycle ministry. So in a lot of ways, He's brought me out of my comfort zone and things I'd never do. I mean, you can ask my wife, she'd tell you. It's a little different in a lot of ways, but for the good, you know what I mean? But yeah, it can get challenging. I mean, there are times when you talk to folks and they don't want no part of it, and kind of disrespectful sometimes about it. Sometimes they're not. They just, and that used to catch me off guard. You know what I'm saying? I used to have a hard time with, like, I almost take offense. Like, man, come on. I sit here and listen to you for 15 minutes talking about whatever, and you can't, and then I started thinking, what got me past this is how many times has people refused Jesus? Mm-hmm. Did he get offended? Did he? And if they refused him, no telling how many times I refused him back in the day, but he was sitting there waiting on me. So I don't take offense to that, I don't push nothing on nobody. I don't try to force nothing on nobody. Mm-hmm. It's all in God's time, and I try to plant seeds, maybe somebody will come along and water it, So that used to get to me, but I don't let it rattle me no more. I just smile and go, all right, man, well, hey, I'm here if you need me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a statistic out there. I forget what it is. Something like 17 times or something it takes to have to hear something before you engage in it. So whether it's an advertisement or the gospel or whatever. And so it's like, you don't know, you could have been time number 6, or time number 15. You don't know where that is. Right. And it's like, that's the hard part. I think for the people watching, sometimes it's hard to break out of your comfort zone because there's nothing more vulnerable than sharing your faith with a stranger, or, seeing, hey, can I pray for you? Or, I feel like God told me to come over here and talk to you. Like, there's nothing more vulnerable and scary than that in your humanity, right? But then it's like, okay, we also have to understand, like, that could have, like you said, just been a seed planted so that the next person that comes to them, they're going to receive, they're going to be like, yeah, you know what? I wish I would have said yes to that guy the other day. So I'm going to say yes to you, talk to me. And so I love that the Lord has taught you about just that sowing of the seed. Because like you said, you guys are going back week after week after week to the same places, and, getting ministering, building relationships there. So with that, so like, as you guys are doing what you're doing, I'm sure you have had success stories. I'm sure you've had people come to Christ or change their life, or you've seen a change in people's lives. Tell me about that. What's that like?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, talking about the planting seeds, there are a handful of motorcycle ministries out here, and especially here in Middle Tennessee and across Tennessee. And there's one guy in particular. I used to go in the clubhouse, and I used to always talk to him, and I'd catch him every once in a while. Hey man, that's first of all, I'd be like, hey man, what's going on? How you doing? And da da da. And he might say, blah blah blah, whatever. And I'm like, man, is there anything I can pray for you about? I just try to mess with him a little bit with it at first, and then see how he acts. And he said, "Nah, I tell you what, you talk to the big man tonight, throw this in, blah blah." And I would always have these conversations with him, and some some I wouldn't even say those things, just earning a friendship. And before I would leave every night, I said, "Hey man, you be good." And he goes, "Why the would I want to do that?" I'm like, all right, take it easy, keep on rolling. A lot of it was him busting back at me, because I would mess with him. But and become pretty good friends with this guy. And there were some pretty good conversations there. But what I didn't realize is, I knew they were out there, but there were other guys from other ministries that had been pouring into him too. And I come in one day and I said, "Hey man, what's going on?" I said, "Well," he goes, "Man, did you hear the news?" I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" And he said, you didn't hear the good news?" I said, "No." He goes, "Dude, I found Jesus." And I'm waiting for the punchline, because this is the kind of relationship me and him had. I'm waiting for the punchline. I was like, "Really?" He goes, "No, dude, I'm serious. I got," and I'm like, "What? Oh man!" And then we got hugged and lost it a little bit and had a good time with it. But I really thought he was messing with me. And he said, no, I'm getting baptized in like a couple of weeks or whatever it was. And then we all showed up and watched him get baptized. And man, you could just see the change. He's still, like the rest of us out there, we're a little rough around the edges. Yeah. We're not typical squeaky clean people. We're a little rough around the edges. And he wasn't, and I could just watch his change, as he was making his walk. And, and it was just awesome. And then next thing you know, we got him at one of our meetings giving his testimony to some of the members that didn't know him. So, and it was really awesome, man. And I still talk to him from time to time. He's no longer in the club world, and I still see him time to time, and he's still trucking right along. Now he's in music, wow. Music, and it's rock music. It's not Christian music, but he's still out there keeping his faith, kind of like the guy from Korn.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
I love it. Come on. That's amazing. And what a testimony. I mean, you take one of the rough guys, and then those other guys were watching him too. I'm sure that had an effect on other people in his club. Just seeing that change, and, like, wow, did you hear about so-and-so? I'm sure that made a difference too. But I love that. Like you said, you were able to see and sow along with all of these other clubs, and probably some of his family members and whoever else had been praying for this guy. And then here it came to pass. I love that. That's awesome.
And look, if it takes going somewhere in some place for 4 or 5 years, and that one guy is worth it.
Heck yeah.
Worth it. So That's what it's all about. It's not a race, it's a marathon for me. I mean, it's all in God's time, and I just go in there and try to be obedient and represent Jesus the best way I can, and hopefully people see that, and you know, and it works out, you know.
I love it. So many times, yeah.
Told me, he told me, he said, "Hey, brother, all you guys pouring in, man, it's all part of it."
Come on, come on. Well, and so many times I think we get on our religious hat of like, oh, I need to witness to this many people, and nobody got saved today, and no, you know, I didn't pray with anybody today, and it's like we start looking at this checklist, and I love that you said that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You know, this is a long haul thing because again, you don't know who you've talked to that you planted that seed and then they got saved later. They came to Christ later. You still get to partake of that. You still get the reward, you know, for that because you sowed into that guy's life, you know, so you have no idea. You won't even know till you get to glory one day, really all the lives that you've affected that you don't even know, people that you never even talked to, but like you said, they were watching you. So I love that. And I think that gives encouragement to our audience today, guys, that, you know, don't feel like you have to go in and transform every situation to be a church service in that moment. It's like, no, people are watching you. You know, I love that quote of sometimes you're the only Bible that people read, you know, because they might not read their Bible, but they know that you claim to read your Bible. So they're going to watch you and see how you are. And we get to partake in that. And I love how the kingdom works like that, that we get to, everybody gets to do that. I love that. So tell me a little bit about, I know you guys do outreach work outside of the clubs and stuff. So you guys go to the mission, is that right, here in Nashville? So tell me about what that looks like.
So, and I'm gonna butcher how long it's been, but one of our national elders, which he lives right here in Mount Juliet, Smoking Joe Drake, he started going to the mission. I'm gonna say, let's just say 15 years ago. It could probably, or it's probably more. But he started going to the mission, and God put it on his heart to go down there and do a church service. Now, he was going in there by himself, no band, just him. And he was going there and preaching to these guys, just letting these guys know, hey, you're loved, you matter.
Yeah.
And over the years, you know, the ministry, the Bikers for Christ got involved. Other ministries have been there from time to time, but we go there every third Sunday at the Nashville Rescue Mission. And one of our guys will bring the word, and we have a band from our chapter. So we got a drummer, guitar player, a bass, and a young lady that sings, and she does good. You know, so we go down there, they get the worship going. Mm-hmm. We bring the word, and then we go line up around the stage, and they do altar call. And sometimes you'll get more than you can handle. Sometimes you'll get a few, but you always get that one guy that just really hurt and really needs something. And it's just a great way to let them know, man, they're loved, you know. They're loved and they matter. And they get down and they don't have nothing. Some people don't have family, and they just rock bottom, and some of these guys just have a hard time seeing what's the point, you know. And you go in there and just bring us to Jesus and love on them, and that's some seeds we're talking about planting, you know. And some of them give their life to Christ right there, you know. I've seen that many a times over the years.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And you don't see them anymore because they're off and running, you know. Maybe they got the job, they got the apartment or whatnot, because you don't see a lot of the guys over and over and over. So, but
yeah, so that's a short term where you get to go in and minister to them at their time of need, and then they move on. Yeah, man, I love that. I love what you guys are doing. So, okay. So for the people watching at home, like, what advice would you give to the person that's watching today if they're thinking this sounds interesting. My style of ministry, like you say, you're like, I couldn't see myself teaching a Sunday school class, but I could see myself doing this. Like, what do you say to that guy, that lady that are watching right now? And how would you encourage them to step out and to begin to do something?
Well, first of all, there's something we all can do for the Lord, whether it's singing, whether it's riding motorcycles for Jesus, whatever it is. There's an avenue for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in the motorcycle world, that website right there under my name, mm-hmm. find you a local chapter and go visit. Mm-hmm. Get on the website, contact our chapter elder in your area, mm-hmm. call him up and go visit and pray about it, because this isn't for everybody. I mean, it's not, but it's an awesome ministry. And if it's where God leading you, mm-hmm. it'll be worth your while. I mean, I get excited, I get excited going, like we were talking, like, since my relationship with the Lord has gotten stronger, I don't just, I gotta do this, I gotta check this list. No, I'm ready. I get upset if I can't go for some reason. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's to me, it's the funnest thing to do. You get to get out there and represent Jesus and ride motorcycles, be with your brothers. And that's another thing about this ministry. I could call any one of these guys and gals that ride with us, and they'll be there in a drop of a dime for you. I mean, it's a brother, it's a whole nother family. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about Big Grizzly, he's been there for me in a lot of ways over the years, and I try to be that way for him, and the brotherhood is real in Bikers for Christ. But it's like anything else, you get out what you put in.
That's right.
You come in with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you will not make it.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good, man. I love this. This has been a cool conversation, and I hope that it's inspired somebody. Number one, I hope it's broken down some stereotypes for people. If you're ever like, what's that guy doing with the Jesus patch on and he looks like a Harley guy? I don't get it. Like, yeah, he is, and he loves Jesus. It's okay. Yeah. And I love it. I love it anytime we're out. I mean, I know we were in Alaska on a trip, and we were on a train, and there was a woman on the train with a jacket on, and she had a Christian Biker Club jacket on, and we started talking to her, and she was traveling the country by herself, a widow, in Winnebago to different places, and she was just going around, and she would meet different clubs and go and minister Jesus everywhere she went. And I thought that was so cool. And so it's just, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what you're going to be doing. But I love that this ministry is so out of the box. It doesn't fit the church norm, because I'm all about breaking the religious stereotypes in half. And this ministry definitely does that.
Yep. And I'll tell you this, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I do not like it when people call me religious. I'm just about Jesus.
Yes.
Like you said, we don't fit the religious stereotype. We're a little different.
Yeah.
We have fun. We do have fun. That's
absolutely. I don't think Jesus was religious either, John. So there we go. Jesus was the least religious person that I know, for sure. So, well, Goat, thank you so much for being on here. Guys, if you want to check out this ministry, go to bikersforchrist.org, or find you a local chapter somewhere. Find you a local bike club. I'm sure some of the motorcycle shops in your area will know where they are and where they hang out, or do something else. If you don't fit into that Christian box, if you don't fit into the nice little perfect suit and tie box that there is out there, go find the ministry that God has called you to. Go find the group to get involved in, because like he said, there are people that only you can minister to. So we just bless you guys today. Go out and find your tribe, y'all. Go do the things and spread the love of Jesus. And thank you, Goat. And thank you guys for joining us today on TKL. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one.